Welcome to the Fan Room, where we open the door to conversations about trauma, stress, race, and everything in between that happens to veterans before, during, and after military service. So grab a seat, sit back, and let's get to it. So how'd you bring your year in? Let's talk how we brought our year in first.
2021 was very interesting. Felt like that was kind of that transitional point when you were going on deployment. So I rang the new year in the bed. Like, I think I was asleep, and you called from the ship. So we talked, which was good. It was cool. And kind of caught up a little bit. And then I had some family. Your sister called, my siblings called. But I was kind of just relaxing. It was a laid back New Year's in comparison to some of the other New Year's that we've had that they have been a little bit more intense, where we go out or do something.
Mm-hmm. What was going on New Year's for you? How was life? What's up?
I think prior to New Year's, I think I was tired. My job was really, really busy that time of year. Things start to ramp up a little bit. We were just in the middle. Well, no, COVID actually wasn't even a thing at that point. Yeah, it was around, but
No, COVID was definitely around. COVID had been around for like a year. COVID came around in 2019.
You are right. So if I think back, grocery stores wasn't that packed. I mean, people I was teleworking.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really busy. I feel like people think when you telework, you work less, but that's really just not the case. Like, when you telework, you work way more. You don't really take much breaks.
Yeah, some people, right?
Some people, but I mean, for the most part, most jobs demand or they ask for more because you're teleworking.
You trying to justify your teleworking? You trying to say
my teleworking?
You trying to say just because you was teleworking a lot?
I mean, I was teleworking and really actually working.
Yeah.
And when you work in emergency response, it gets very, very busy. So holiday times is a lot of times when things are popping off in people's houses. Again, with families and kids, and if it's not conflicts with them, it's custody things, and if it's not custody things, it's grandparents. People just not getting along, and a lot of stuff happening on that end, especially with COVID too. COVID was a big thing.
What else was a big thing for you personally? What wasn't you was pregnant, right? Were you pregnant? Did we know this yet? Or?
Not in the new year. So that didn't come until a little bit close to the mid part of January.
But you were pregnant probably, right?
I was. Pregnant.
I came home in September, October. I came home from deployment like September, October, right? And we had both been like working out, getting in great shape, right? So we gotta, we gotta get back in shape, right?
Definitely gotta get back in shape.
We have both been working out, getting in great shape, and
I was in like the best shape of my life, I think.
Like life was life, and like we was living life, right? We came home and we try to make up for lost times.
Yeah, we definitely did.
We had some fun, and somebody got pregnant.
Had a lot of fun.
You know what I'm saying? So, but you didn't know that yet, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I had no idea.
So I was on the ship.
You were.
Mm-hmm.
So it was two things happening at the same time. So it was a super busy time because we were in the process of the final portion of buying a home. So we were getting close to that closing part. And you were on the ship, but they were going to do things remotely. Mm-hmm. And so it was a lot of trying to figure out what was going on with the seller. It's a seller's market, of course, at the time that we need to buy a home. Mm-hmm. So the market is crazy. Houses are listing. By the time you see it, the next day they're under contract, meaning that someone has already put in an offer and is pending acceptance. And so we had put our offer in for a home actually prior to you leaving in November.
Yeah.
And we had lost one home prior to that, just because of that fast turnaround time. And so this was kind of like it. Like this was like going to be our house.
Yeah.
So
And you was like on your own in this process for a little bit of it, huh?
yeah, so a lot of email communication. I think as a military spouse, you definitely have to learn how to communicate through messaging, because you're not always going to be able to talk to your spouse, because they may be in a place that's remote or where they don't have the ability to talk to you, unless the ship has some phone comms and you could talk. But that's not going to be it may not be a free long conversation.
Yeah.
To get what you need to get out, the things that are important.
Yeah, but it was never intended for me to not be there through the process. Remember, like I was supposed to be gone off the ship in December.
Yeah,
You know, so I made
things
Chief
can work out.
Yeah, I made Chief, and they, they called me and they told me like, hey, congrats, you're a chief now. You're going to a ship. They was like, I know you might be surprised, but the one thing that's not going to change is the day that you leave, right? That's what they told me before I got there. And me being like a man of my word to the highest like regard, I thought that was gonna be true. You know what I'm saying? And then like, COVID hit, stuff happened, but I got extended. So I got extended on a ship, so I wasn't gonna be there for a lot of that process. So how was that process? I mean, I know we had some help. You know what I'm saying? We had like Wes help us out over here in Maryland, help us out. We had John, your brother, help us out. Did Kristen helped us out. She's from the area, so they all kind of, and Wes is from the area. John's in Philly, so they all kind of helped us out. So we did have our support system. But how was that process, like trying to find a house and stuff like that?
The whole process of purchasing a home, we first were thinking about, okay, what bank we were going to go with. And so being in the military, Navy, Federal, of course you would, that's where we both bank. We wound up changing just because we found another, Veterans United, we found another mortgage company that was, that at the time was offering us a lot more support. It was a little bit more responsive in helping through the process. We also went through Redfin, and so they are a company where they kind of had, it's like a concierge type of thing. So they worked together with our mortgage company. But the thing that I really liked about our realtor and the company that the realtor worked for was that they offer virtual showings. So even if you couldn't physically be there, you could schedule to see homes, but they had a representative that would come and could look through the homes, and you could ask them questions. And for the most part, many of the people that showed the homes were very knowledgeable. And I remember it was one house that we were almost going to bid on. And when they actually went, from the pictures looked amazing. So these houses, they come, they get people to stage them, or if they're not staged, they take good pictures. But this particular home, very nice home. The basement portion, from the pictures, you could not tell that there was a water line going around the home. And so when the virtual agent went out to see it, she was like, yeah, she's like, the house is nice, but she's like, there's a demarcation, it's like a water line. She's like going around. So, water damage is a big thing. We're not buying a house that you could clearly see that there was some water damage, because that's going to be more problems.
All right, so you was looking for a house like on your own. You was looking for a house going through that process of looking for a house on your own. I know it's a lot of details like in like the whole process, and I know we can't, get into the details. We can't talk about everything. Got to hit like some of the highlights and stuff like that. So you're looking for a house. We had some friends. It's a seller's market, right? It's a seller's market.
Super busy, booming business. Pretty much as soon as the house list, I got to email it to you, got to show you some pictures, talk about the price or whatever, and see what's going to happen. See if our friends could go look at the house and then try to put in an offer ASAP. We did wind up finding one house. Super excited about that house. We both love the house. But it's sold for, I think, over $60,000 over the asking price. And they took a different offer. The family was relocating, and they wanted the highest of highest bidders. So we didn't get their house, but we wound up getting a house that was perfect for us. And so the next house, he was like, oh, well, next house that come up, we gonna get their house. And that wound up being the house that we live in now. And so, but this house was not without struggle or fight. We actually were in a bidding war with another buyer or two other buyers. And it boiled down to whether or not we weren't going to pay closing costs.
So we eventually got the house, thank God we eventually got the house, and that was all in January.
Yeah, that was all in January, but there were some things with the house that the sellers needed to work on. And so not seeing the home, but having home inspectors, definitely want to get your home inspectors on board. There were a lot of people opting out of home inspections because of the market and just wanting to hurry up and purchase. But your home inspector is probably the best thing that could have happened for us, because the home inspector was able to point out some things that we needed the seller to kind of address before the actual closing date came. So our closing actually got pushed back twice. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we wound up being actually in January, with a closing in January. And so actually I really didn't even see the house until the day before closing.
Yeah, so it was a lot of back and forth between us and, between you and the sellers.
Yes.
You like super specific. I was like more like, yo, we just gonna have to fix it when we get it, type stuff. Mm-hmm. And you wasn't trying to take no for an answer for a lot of that stuff. So it was a lot of back and forth, but we did it. This was our first house. So we got our first house together in January. So that was, one, big thing that we hit in January was we got our first house together, in which you wasn't going to move in until like April or something. We had talked about, I wanted you to move in ASAP. You didn't want to move in. You wanted to keep working and stuff like that. So we got our first house in January. And then now what else happened in January?
Dropped you off.
Mm-hmm.
You about to go on a deployment that wasn't planned for.
Well, it wasn't. Remember, it wasn't the deployment. It was a home port shift. The ship.
Right.
The ship was moving to Japan.
It was moving to Japan.
And I thought I was completely out of that whole process of having to move to Japan. And then before we had to go to Japan, we had to do something called ROM for like 21 days, where like half of us had to stay on the ship. Mm-hmm. Well, really like a quarter of the crew had to stay on the ship, or 30-some%. And then the other group had to stay in a hotel. So,
mm-hmm.
I chose to stay on the ship. So that's where we are.
So, and you getting on the ship, I was responsible for the transportation. So drop you off.
Mm-hmm.
You wound up needing some other things. Go home, bring them back. And I'm like realizing I haven't eaten. So I stopped at Shake Shack. I'm like, okay. Matter of fact, not Shake Shack. I stopped at Crack Shack. Really good spot in
Crack Shack.
Really good
Crack
spot
Shack.
in San Diego.
Shout out to Crack Shack.
Like if you ever visit San Diego, or if you live there and you haven't been to Crack Shack, you really missing out.
Crack Shack is what I use so people can fall in love with us, like our friends. Like, hey, let me take you somewhere. Crack Shack be like, it's close to the airport too. It's like damn near where we take our friends as soon as they land, man. Like
everything is fresh, everything is good.
So you went to Crack Shack.
So went to Crack Shack. Got something I normally order because I was like, yeah, I just want something that's some comfort food. I've been driving around. I'm tired. Get the food. And of course it's COVID, so that, I order it. They bring it to the car, masked up, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go home so I can wash my hands, start eat the food, and then from that day on, I was sick. I was sick for like a whole week. I kept feeling like, I'm like, okay, it's not COVID, but my stomach feels weird. Like,
I thought you had bad Crack Shack. Like,
I
that's
thought I had food poisoning.
That's preposterous, man. You can't have bad
and
Crack
I was like,
Shack.
this like my favorite spot. Like,
Yeah,
I don't even
no
understand
way.
this right now.
Yeah, I couldn't roll with you
But-
like to cut Crack Shack out of our diet, man.
I was so sick, just really sick, and I was like, everything. It was happening both ways, and I was just like, okay, like I don't know what's going on. And my mother-in-law actually was like, are you sure you okay? Because you keep getting sick so frequently. And I normally, if I'm stressed out or really stressed out, sometimes I might catch a cold or something like that. But I have been fine. But it was like, I'm like, no, it's just the food. Like, I felt like the food was bad or something happened, because it's like, it's not a cold or anything like that. It's like my stomach is feeling weird and I'm like throwing up
So
and all
not
that
feeling
stuff.
normal.
So we talk. You actually called from the ship, and maybe a week in, and you're like, oh, well, like, do you think that you're pregnant?
Yeah. I'm like, this sound like morning sickness.
Yeah, because I was throwing up a lot, and so I'm like, oh, I didn't even.
It was like all the symptoms.
Yeah, because my breast was swelling, like I was sick, I was having headaches. I was pretty much having more of the symptoms of being pregnant than not being pregnant, and so, but I just thought it was like food poisoning. So, so you're like, oh, won't you get a pregnancy test? It's COVID, and of course I'm sick. I'm like, I'm not trying to go to the store. Like, I'm trying to drive. I'm gonna have to get it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, get it. I'm on a ship. I'm like, yo, get it. Like, what's up? Like, you always so like, like patient with stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yo, get it. Let's go.
Taking my time. Really, because I'm by myself. It's just me and a dog. So, I'm just thinking like, oh, I don't really want to drive. I'm in for the night. Like, he might have a point here, but, and then of course, when COVID first hit, I was super, super cautious. Like, I was like getting Instacart. I was wiping everything down, even spraying down my boxes, my grocery bags, all of that stuff. I wasn't even trying to go to the supermarket.
In 2019, right?
No, this is
COVID hit in 2019.
2019, but we talking about when I found out I was pregnant. That's 2020. We in 2021 right now.
Yeah, but you talk about when COVID first hit.
Oh, well, not when it first hit.
That was 2019.
So even throughout, prior to COVID first hitting, COVID was around, and I was like not taking no chances, because it's like I live by myself. My husband's away, just me and the dog. Like, I'm not about to catch this COVID business, and
so you was cautious.
I was very cautious. Plus, I didn't have to work.
So the next day you went and got.
So next day, drove, got the pregnancy test, got a box. They had, of course, a 3. And make sure I got the one that said pregnant or not pregnant. So I'm like, I don't want to be confused with the pregnancy test. And we were on the phone together, actually. I took the pregnancy test, and I was like, okay, like nonchalant talking, like, yeah, whatever, get it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and I told you, like, so yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pregnant.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Yeah, we were happy. We got to kind of celebrate that together, yo.
Yeah,
cool.
super happy. It was a good moment because I felt like, prior to that, like I had we both were like kind of like very in our healthiest stages. I went to did like a pescatarian, vegetarian style lifestyle, and was working out, and felt like I was in great shape. So,
well, right before that, you came to the ship, I think, and you like got lost, and it was like crazy for you.
All stressed out.
And you like, you ain't know you was pregnant. That was a weird thing. And I think I told you when I found out you was pregnant, I was like, yeah, cause you was acting weird, like for these last couple before I left. I'm like, I'm glad that probably even while I was gone, but I'm like, I'm glad that something was like wrong with you for real. You know what I mean? I don't know if you remember that, but I'm like, yo, here I go thinking like something wrong with my wife, but it's really something growing inside our body. Like it's actually, something happening. Cause I'm like, man, it's like, what's going on with her, man? You was acting different. So like your mood and your vibes were already different. Like your hormone levels and stuff might have already, been changing before we ever knew that you were pregnant, before you ever ate the crack shack.
Probably more than likely. And it seems, that my hormones just seem to go out of control. So, the pregnancy hormones, I guess most women's hormones kind of level out, and they start to increase, but mine seemed to, heighten throughout, and so it was causing what people would consider morning sickness to be like just during the day. It was like all day sickness, And it was like to a point where I really couldn't even eat.
People consider morning sickness to be just during the day.
Some people think morning sickness should only be like in the morning, like, you know, when you first wake up. But it's like, no, this
is the name of the
this
thing.
is an all day situation. Like,
all right, so you find out you pregnant, and I think I'm leaving. I think that was probably why I'm like, yo, let's find out, because I think I actually got underway real shortly after that. So I think I got underway within days after we found out we was pregnant. Like, I was hyped. Or maybe I was already underway when you found out. Matter of fact, I was already underway when you found out she was pregnant.
Yeah, you were not still here. Yeah.
Was I underway? I don't remember. But because how were we just talking? I remember where I was when we found out we was you were pregnant. No, we were like,
the ship
that was
hadn't
like
moved.
the
Yeah,
night.
I think that was the week that y'all were.
That was like the night we was about to get underway. So you find out you're pregnant. We get underway, and then you just get real sick.